do it. Okay, I guess we can go live now. I've got a green on OBS and I've got a green on YouTube. So welcome everybody. It's 6:45. So far no viewers. It's Thursday, right? Doesn't say. Okay. Hello to all. Let's see. I've got Terrence on. Hello, Terrence. 2 Echo 0 India Papa Kilo from the UK, where it is currently almost 1:45 a.m. in the morning out there. You're quite the night owl. I go to sleep around 10 and then stop reading around 11. For New Year's Eve, my wife and I will wait for it to become midnight in New York and go to bed. And Colorado can celebrate New Year's with us asleep. Z5 little battery pack. Oh, enjoyed the tour of the plane. Great. I had a little trouble I was going through today looking at my channel. For the first time since I have had the channel, I started losing subscribers. So I figured that something drastic needed to be done. And there were a couple things I went to. One was changing the name of the channel back to David Casler and then adding Ask Dave. So David Casler, Ask Dave. Because I changed it to Ask Dave, and I think that threw a lot of people off on their searches because the number of views really has been declining very rapidly ever since the hack. Also, I discovered that when they hacked my channel, they set all my videos to private. And so I did a mass change to change them all to public because there's over 1,000 of them. And more like 1,300 or 1,400. And the more I look at that, the more I discover that now the mass change doesn't work. So I've been going down and changing old videos from private to public. And some of those videos are, you know, pretty recent videos that have just kind of disappeared. And I know that these are videos that people like to watch, so maybe that'll help with the views and things like that. I know that the revenue for the channel is down grossly. It's about half of what it was a couple months ago. So we'll see what happens as that goes on. That's kind of, you know, I actually rely on the channel for about half my retirement income. So, you know, these videos are all free, and if that's the way you like to relate to the channel, great. I have no objection to that. I post them to be free. They are put up there with some, you know, advertising. But I do have a patron page, and there is also a tip jar and things like that for people who would like to pay. You'd be amazed that some people are truly grateful for the information they get, and the easiest way to reward a channel like that is to subscribe, click like, share, tell other people, and so on. And then things get taken care of. I've got 119,000 subscribers. I've lost 345 in the last 4 weeks. And I think that is entirely due to the hack. I changed the name of the channel from David Casler to Ask Dave. And I think that's a big part of it because people remember the name of the channel as David Casler. So I ran a little poll. I'll show you the poll here if I can get to it. For some reason the mouse, I may need to replace the battery in this mouse. If we go to Studio again and get to the right one, if you look at the, let's see, I'm going to have to move this up to get it into the screen. Oh, we have to start streaming there. Okay, then I think we can change screens. So I asked the question earlier today, should I revert to the original channel name of David Casler? Should I keep the changed name, which is Ask Dave? And should I keep the name that I updated today, which is David Casler Ask Dave? So people would at least know it's my channel. So only a third of viewers like the new channel name as compared to have something with my full name in it. There's just 76 votes so far, but of the people who care to vote, it's in the community tab there. If you go to my channel page, which is at youtube.com/Dave Casler, DAVECASLER, take you right to that, and then you can respond to this poll if you like. So today I went through page after page after page after page of videos. I discovered that if a video is private, it does not count in your total number of videos. Only the public ones do. So I went and was changing private, private, private to public, public, public. I tried doing one page at a time where you just click the X at the top, selects them all, change to public, and it takes forever to do that. So I've just been doing them one at a time. And I think I'm about halfway through. I'm down to the Ask Dave 230. So I've got 230 Ask Dave videos to go to make sure that they are public. So let's see what we've got here. T. Klepper enjoyed the tour of the plane. Yeah, I don't know how it looked on your side. What I'm afraid was if you are subscribed and you click notifications, that you probably got 100 of them today. Every time I changed that private to public, it may have generated a notice to you. And if so, I've flooded your in-basket. I'm so very sorry. And I'm also sorry to say I'm not done. I think I may have my assistant who comes to, well, he doesn't come tomorrow. That's right. He is having his wisdom teeth out today. Poor guy. I gave him all kinds of gas about that on Monday. I have a picture somewhere of after I got done with my Mormon mission in the Philippines. I had wisdom teeth out, impacted wisdom teeth taken out. Impacted means they're hitting other teeth. And I looked like a chipmunk. My face all swollen up over here. It was really something. Dad took a picture of it. So I found out something different. I've got to have a different kind of surgery done in a month here. This is not Avian, this is filtered refrigerator water. I keep refilling it. So T. Klepper enjoyed the tour of the plane. I found out yesterday that they have moved my plane from my hangar into their big maintenance hangar to do the work on it. I really don't think it'll take that long. They have to replace the main gear struts, which were bent a little bit. And then they have to replace basically the front, from the front wheel up to the point where it steers it inside the airplane. So they've got to do that. And they, of course, have to bolt on the new propeller. The propeller, I did not realize this, was made of wood. It's covered in some kind of a plastic. I thought it was some carbon fiber or something like that, because I had never actually hefted the propeller, because it had always been bolted to the airplane. So since the engine manufacturer says if you have a prop strike with a wooden airplane, you really don't need to change the or do the extensive examination of the engine, because stopping a gasoline engine, which is what this is, it's a 6-cylinder gasoline engine made by, I'll think of it in a moment, but it if you stop it suddenly, there's a lot of inertia, there's a lot of energy in those twirling things like this. And so it can cause that to twist and break. You can ruin an engine that way. But they say if the propeller is wooden, it absorbs a lot of the energy of the prop strike. So the stoppage is not quite so sudden. And there is a spec you can check called the runout, the engine runout, and see if that's within spec, then all you need to do is change the propeller, which of course they will. And they have all the parts now. Let's see, Kenneth D says, thank you, sir. Richie's Radio Room has added $3 to the chat revenue, which I really appreciate, and has added a little thumbs up icon. Thank you very much. William Myers, KAAGIM, says, good evening, Dave and all Augies. T. Klepper, how do you recommend for starting with HF? Have a mobile VHF rig now. You can, of course, do mobile HF. It can be done. But generally, people start with an HF base station and an outdoor antenna. And I've put together what I call a reference design. It's a collection of equipment that together will get you on the air. I mean, it's got everything from power supply and how to ground it and you know, the coax to use, the antenna to use, and so on. And the basic rig is the ICOM 7300. Now, I made this recommendation a number of years ago, and Yaesu has come out with some very interesting radios that are suitable for entry level. But I have not had any chance to examine those. So I can't say right off the top of my head what I would do. But the ICOM 7300 is still a very fine radio. I set up here the reference station. Now, the word reference means just that. It's something to refer to. If you do everything on the reference design page, you'll put together a station that you can be very happy with for a pretty long time. The first thing you will probably change is the antenna. And then, you know, you'll start maybe 2 antennas, maybe whatever. You'll start going from there. But what is on that reference? And you can find the reference design at Casler, DCASLER.com/reference, the word reference in lowercase. And that'll take you to that page. And you have to scroll down a bit to get there, but it will tell you all the different things that you can put together to make that page. Just for kicks, just to make sure it's still there. let's go to dcasler.com. Casler.com, not giveaway, but reference. Here it is. And I'm hoping this thing works. Yes, it does. Okay, here's the reference station for general and amateur extra. And it shows you all the different parts you can pull together to make for a station. So when you figure out how much this is going to cost you, check these out. I mean, you may be looking at, you can do it less expensively, of course. I'm going to get a new battery for this mouse. Packages of new batteries are definitely not made for people with, or who are old. Okay, so I think it goes in there this way. Okay, let's try this mouse. Okay, that looks a little better. Okay, so let's go back to normal view. Back to the here so I can see what's going on. So that reference design will do, I think, very nicely for you. Now, tonight I'm still using the Skylink video uplink, trying to see how well it will do. We'll see. Okay. Hello from far west Missouri area, 80 degrees Fahrenheit and 40% relative humidity. Sounds like summer is sort of sneaking in there. And 0 QFT. Here it is 64 degrees and 43% relative humidity. Where I was yesterday in Montrose got up over 80. So definitely summer's on the way. Okay. Lieutenant Colonel Nicholson, Dave, can you explain how a radio works? Specifically the oscillator and the crystal. Okay, studying for the extra exam. It says thanks and best wishes. An oscillator is something that makes that's where the RF is created. Okay, an alternating current at radio frequencies, meaning for HF, somewhere between 3 and 30 megahertz, or million cycles per second. Okay, the crystal is a quartz crystal, a piece of quartz, and it's very carefully sized and etched to get down to the shape, and it's slapped between a couple pieces of metal. Quartz has a property that's known as piezoelectric. And what that means basically is that if you excite it with electricity at the right frequency, it will vibrate. And it'll vibrate at a single frequency. So the idea is to, believe it or not, this thing can actually wiggle back and forth at millions of times per second. And as it does that, the plates on either side of that capture that. We call it an oscillator because there has to be enough feedback to keep the thing going. But it's really more of an amplifier of those, and then that creates the radio wave. And then that wave is taken and modulated or just turned on and off for Morse code, and can be power amplified up to megawatts if you want. Ham radio operators are limited to 1,500 watts peak envelope power. But basically, that is how I'm My wife is. UPS package. Okay. Let's see. So that basically is how radio works. It used to work back in Marconi's day, when Marconi would he created a spark. This is Heinrich Hertz was the first guy who showed this could be done. He thought it could be done by studying Maxwell's equations as modified by Oliver Heaviside. And he was able to demonstrate that radio waves could travel through air, okay, with nothing visible in between. In other words, you could transmit information without wires, or wirelessly, and that's where the term wireless came from. So what he did was that spark is a very broadband radio frequency generator. It just generates frequencies all over the place. So if you connect that to a coil and kind of narrow down the frequencies, connect that to an antenna, whenever that spark goes, it will send out a bunch of stuff. And if you put enough power behind it, thousands of watts, you can actually make the signal go hundreds of miles. And that's what Marconi did. And he had ship to ship to ship to ship to shore on his ships crossing the Atlantic. The problem with the spark is the incredible bandwidth and its incredible inefficiency. 1,000-watt spark actually put out 15 or 20 watts of Morse code on the right frequency. So after the DeForest Audion was developed, then they started to build radio transmitters that were quite small and compact. And the wave, instead of sounding harsh, was very smooth. It was a continuous smooth wave. And that's where CW comes from. It actually does not refer to the mode, although in common everyday ham lingo it does. But it actually refers to a type of transmitter that puts out a smooth, continuous tone. So that's how radio works. Now, on the receiving end, you pick up a minuscule signal and you amplify it and listen to it. Amplify it millions of times. Now, here's a comparison I like to make. If you compare the signal a 100-watt transmitter puts out to $1 trillion worth of RF, the amount that makes it to the receiving antenna is a penny. The rest of it is lost to free space. So this is the magic of radio, taking a fairly good-sized chunk of power, radiating it in every direction, and then somebody hundreds of miles away puts up an antenna and receives 100 trillionth of that energy and is able to actually amplify that and make something useful of it. And that's the magic of radio. Okay, so there you go. I hope that helps. Michael C. KI5AE, there appear to be 2 live stream chat channels. I backed out of the other one and rejoined. Oh, really? I didn't know that. I only opened up one. Oh, when I go in and try to live stream on another channel, Oh, greetings. Yeah, these are different. Okay, so the people who are, I don't know what I'm streaming. I should be streaming just one. But, okay, there are two. Come on, you stupid thing. Maybe I need to get a mouse. A new mouse. Okay, there's 27 people on this one, and there are 37 people on the original one, so I don't know how to make this work. I suppose what I should do is stop and start over, because in terms of streaming, we look at the settings and stream, and I'm streaming to the primary YouTube ingest server, and I've got, let's see if the stream key shows. Well, it's currently streaming. Boy, this is really strange. There are two streams. I sent out a notice just as this started. So I would suggest that you go into your email and pick up, I would suggest you go back into your email and pick up that notice, and that should put you into the correct live stream. I don't know how I can possibly. There's a KE0OG David Casler live stream, and there's a David Casler live stream. Okay, well, I can't. That's odd. I'm transmitting two live streams. I don't know what to do about that. I don't know how I did that. So let's see if we look at stream settings. The key, JBEX. Look at this one here for stream settings. View, JBEX. They've got the same streaming ID. 7JEP. 7JEP. Okay, the stream URL is the same on both of them. I don't know what to do. Okay, so if those who are on the stream that is titled David Casler live stream can go find the other stream, which is the KE0OG Dave Casler live stream. Let me see what I sent out. Okay. Okay, I see people exiting the other one and coming over. One says David Casler live stream. That is the one to exit out of. And the one to go into is the one that says KE0OG Dave Casler live stream. And they're both scheduled. No, the second one, the David Casler live stream, is not scheduled. Maybe I just started them at the same time, because the KE0OG Dave Casler live stream is scheduled for May 18th at 6:45 p.m. U.S. Mountain Standard Time. Okay, so, well, I'll have to swing back and forth between chat rooms, I guess, because I'm adding them from the same. Okay, two live stream. I backed out of the other one and rejoined. Okay, is that how you did it? This ADHD Life, hello from Dayton. I wish I could be there. I'm not. Also, you seem to have 2 live streams going. I know. I don't know what to do. Josh from HRCC, Ham Radio Crash Course. Hello, Josh. How are you? He's also doing a stream, so folks may trickle in later. Okay. I thought he did his on Fridays. I may have to change mine. William Meyer, KE0OG, I am Dave. Does the gauge or thickness of the radial wires matter? Not really. I got 500 scrap spool of 20 AWG that I'm thinking of adding to the radials. Will it help? It will help. You think of it this way. The main power goes up the vertical antenna, which is fairly thick. And then the power is divided among the radials for the down. Okay, so if you got 30 radials, you've got only 1/30th the amount of the current that's in the antenna. Now, the one that says this ADHD Live, which I think is Josh, says there seem to be 2 live streams going and he's not monitoring this one. Actually, I am. Glenn Martin are the 2 live streams, N0QFT. This ADH Live seems to be. KD9WNV wishes you great day, sir. DJ Jackson, hey Dave, and the rest of the Augies. There are 2 live streams going. Looks like he's watching messages on the other. I was for a moment, but if you are listening to that other live stream, look at it on YouTube. There's 2 names. There's a KE0OG Dave Casler live stream that was scheduled, and then there was one that seems to have just started at the same time. So this is the one he's monitoring. Actually, it's the other one, but you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to end this stream and then log back in again, and you should get to the right screen. Okay, so I think that's how I'm going to do it. So this live stream is still going. So hopefully people will come in on this one. Okay, is there 2 live streams? By the way, your live stream volume is kind of low. Okay, well, I can put it up a little bit, like right there, and see if that works. If it's distorted, let me know, and I'll turn it back down. The other one has the icon as the thumbnail. Really? That's weird. Okay, well, we're on this one right now. We'll make sure that it's correct next time. A thicker diameter antenna wire lowers the frequency of resonance. Now, the point where SWR is 1.0 is only true if the antenna has a purely resistive impedance of 50 ohms, which is almost never the case. And the lowest SWR does not necessarily correspond to the frequency of resonance. But a slightly thicker diameter wire will give you a slightly wider bandwidth on your antenna. Now, any old wire antenna for 40 meters and on up will cover the entire band. On 80 meters, it's real hard to cover the entire band. In fact, I've not seen anything that's completely successful at it unless you do an 80-meter full wavelength loop, and that means you probably got to do that horizontally. And you can tune that with an antenna tuner anywhere on 80 and on up too. So, okay, let's see. The impedance at the resonant frequency, slightly for larger. The Q of a thin wire is higher a bit than of a thick wire antenna, a bit. A low Q antenna is broadbanded, little change in impedance with change in frequency, yes. Therefore, thick wire antennas are more broadbanded by a bit. By a bit. Now, if you actually get up to where you're doing a Yagi with tubing, yes, it's pronounced. Some people build cage antennas for 80 meters, so they have the equivalent thickness of about 3 feet, and that will definitely affect the broadbandedness of the antenna. James Skaggy, no question. Just I am so sorry to hear of the channel being hacked. Your channel gives so much information of ham radio for very little in return. Thank you for everything from KN4VDG. Thank you very much. Let's see, that's actually Jarny Skaggy. Okay. Or Harney Skaggy, not sure. I appreciate that very much. KN4, that's a U.S. call. William Myers, KE0OG. Thank you. I'm thinking of heading, whoa, here we go. Okay, we're starting to get a lot more users here. Thinking of adding the smaller gauge wire to the 14 gauge wire for the radio field. I wonder if the extra 20 gauge wire would help. Yeah, it'd help. And there's no specific length. I just say, to say something, 25 feet for a radio, or whatever fits, or whatever you feel like putting down. Now, there is a point of diminishing returns. After about 16 to 20 radials, adding additional radials doesn't give you more than a dB or so of additional performance on the antenna. So, because you got to remember that the radial pattern, I mean, they're going out in the radio, they are carrying current, and the current in them is, of course, creating heat losses. So that's why you might go with the 14 gauge radials. The 20 gauge radials are going to want to carry as much current as the other radials. But if you've got a lot of them out there, it's really very little current in the radials. So the other one is running named Dave Casler live stream. Yes, I just turned that one off, I think. Yes, it's gone. Okay. I was on the first one you opened. Yeah, this is weird. Next time I'll be careful to get that thing up well in advance. Evening day from the hail-filled skies of Kissimmee, Florida. Oh man, I used to live in Tampa, and everybody said it was the lightning capital of the world, and oh boy, I thought that was true. Steve Clark says I jumped over from the other. William Myers, KAHEIM, says, okay, I'm on the correct stream. Steve Clark, hello from Dayton. Oh, I wish I could be in Dayton. I know it starts tomorrow morning. But we decided not to go this year. We had a lot of things going on. Loretta has things going on. And it takes 4 days to get there, about 6 days to return, because on the way back we stop and visit with her sister. So there's 10 days, and then you add the event itself. Last year we actually went on further east from Dayton. We went up to Talmadge, Ohio, or Talmadge, whatever, Talmadge, Ohio, to visit DX Engineering. And I did a video there, a video interview of the guy there, which was very interesting, I thought. I bought the clock that you see right up there. That clock came from there. It's one of those atomic clocks that syncs to WWV. It's nice because it's always accurate. It even resets itself for time changes. Then we went up to Kirtland, Ohio, to see a Mormon history landmark, the Kirtland Temple, and then came home and stayed a day or so in Nebraska, where my wife's sister is. So there we go. Let's see. Let me see. Okay, hello from Dayton. If only I had 2 TVs, could watch both. There you go. William Myers, KE0OG, Steve Clark. Chuck Schreiber, good evening, Dave, and all Augies worldwide, N5 KVO from the hill country of South Texas. Beautiful spring evening and currently 80 degrees. Kathy E. found it, shared it. Hi, Dave. Just wanted to tell you thank you for all your teachings. I am going to take and pass the tech test this Saturday. Very excited and happy. Kathy, I am excited for you. Everybody on the live stream tonight wishes you the very best of luck with that test. And I will say this. The first thing you're usually handed as a tech is a handheld, which is sort of like saying to somebody who has just learned how to drive and you hand them a scooter. Okay, so persevere. Get into a club, learn how to use the repeaters, learn what DMR is, or D-Star, or System Fusion, play with WinLink. There are a lot of things that a tech can do. Try some satellite work. Tech can do that. And there's a lot of things. There are people who stay techs all their lives because they want to do these fun things like meteor scatter, moon balance, and so on. You only need a tech license for that. And you can also do CW on HF if you want to. Okay, so Kathy, best of luck. I hope that next week you'll tell us what your new call sign is. DJ Jackson, yes, radio fields are different from the actual antenna and don't matter. I mean, they matter in the sense that they help create the radio wave. It's Hamvention. Everyone is live streaming. Okay, well, we got 61 people. Hello, all from Kalamazoo, Michigan. Hi, Dave. I'm on the right stream. Thanks for the Amico transmitter video today. So let me tell everybody again what I did today, spent much of the afternoon doing, is when YouTube restored my channel, about half of the videos were put up as private. You can't even see them. So I spent some time this afternoon, fair amount of time this afternoon, carefully going through. I tried doing this across the board, but it won't do it across the board. So I had to go to each video and change it from private to public. And it may have sent out a bunch of notifications. I don't know. If it did, I apologize for jamming your notification system with probably several hundred releases. And if you did that, well, I appreciate it, and I'm kind of sorry to say I'm not quite done. I got backwards, and the videos go backwards from the most recent Ask Dave, where we're in the mid-900s, down to Ask Dave 230. So I've got to go from 230 down to 1. And then we'll get everything up. I'm also putting back up the airplane videos. And I'll put up the very, very original videos I did of riding up in the mountains on the motorcycle, which was kind of fun. I never seemed to have that camera on when I crashed, which was a shame. That'd make for some good videos. Okay, William Myers, you can do it. Leo Gustafson, I think I'm in the right place. You are. IRD Pete Dayton, can you tell me the difference between DMR and a cell phone, radio to repeater to repeater to radio? I mean, the thing about a cell phone, you got to pay for it. You got to pay for the service. The cell phone system around the world is very sophisticated. And the thing about it is you call one person. There's no way for someone to say on their cell phone, hey, is there anybody in Croatia who'd like to talk to me? You can't do that on a cell phone, whereas you can on ham radio. Now, DMR is a system that was built originally for public service people, you know, like police, firemen, and so on. It also has a very sophisticated backhaul system. There are 3 tiers to DMR, 1, 2, and 3. In ham radio, we only use tiers 1 and 2. And it's just like ham radio in the sense that what you do is you connect to a so-called talk group, sometimes called a chat room or a reflector or something like that. And when you join that group, and it might be a group for Germany or something like that, when you talk into your radio, you come out of repeaters in Germany, and somebody can talk back to you. And a lot of people like to do that sort of thing. They can talk all over the world. There are groups for the USA that you can use. Now, the whole thing is kind of, I'm looking at the error messages I'm getting here. Dropped frames. I'm running about 17% dropped frames, which would probably make the video look a little bit iffy. But basically, that's the difference. DMR is actually ham radio. You control who you're going to talk to. It's free, unless you'd like to help out the repeater owners. You can also get something called a hotspot. And I've been playing with this one right here. That's from Bridgecom Systems Radio. That's an American company in Missouri who does a lot of stuff with DMR. And this is the radio that they sell. It's the Anytone D87 UV D878 or 878 UV Mark III Generation 20. I don't know what it is, but it's probably the best built one. It's solid as a rock. This works not only on DMR, but also just plain old ordinary ham radio FM, and it's dual band radio. So you can use it either for DMR or for FM and talk to local people on the repeater or however your repeaters are linked. So I hope that helps. This ADHD Life, do you know how much has changed in the new general test? I am in the middle of looking, well, I'm not in the middle, I'm way past the middle, looking through the new general manual, which I have, and the old one, because I have to update my general training videos, which are the ones used by the league. And the answer is there's not much change, except in the RF safety stuff. There will be a question on your test about RF safety. The FCC is now mandating a somewhat different method of calculating it, and you really do need to do and put in your logbook an assessment. However, it's very simple. You go onto the league's page, you punch in the parameters for your station. You know, I got a 3-element beam, I've got a 100-watt radio, and so on, and it will tell you what the safe distances are for your radio. And so that'll give you some things to do. I have not seen other major changes. There's a little bit added in terms of the ARDN, is it? There's this, again, tech thing that connects Wi-Fi together in a mesh network. It's interesting to note that the Wi-Fi overlaps the ham radio frequencies. So if you want, you can use a Wi-Fi for ham radio if you're in the ham radio part of the band. And people set up these mesh networks, and they can exchange television. They can do all kinds of things live. Well, television, it's video these days. Who uses the word television? Some people do. It got used earlier here today. So how much has changed? The answer is not a lot. Not a lot, as far as I can tell. Now, the questions are a little different. but the underlying theory, they haven't really added much except the ARDN and the safety stuff. So those are the two things that have changed. Now, the league is now selling the new book, if you want to get the new book. And it should be there at the ARRL booth tomorrow when you go there to Dayton. Okay? Tell them I sent you. Please. So they wanted me to go, but it just didn't work. It's just too far away. So this year I'm going to go to the Duke City Hamfest in New Mexico, in Albuquerque. I'm going to Pacificon over there, and I already went to Quartz Fest. And if any others come up, we'll try to do that too. Okay, so I hope that helps. Leo Gustafson, you are in the right place. KK7CLY visiting from Albany, Oregon, sunny and 80. Very nice. Kathy E., I edited and deleted the first message, so that is why I posted my thanks twice. I will persevere. I live right near a repeater, and there is a club here locally. All right, good. By the way, the club president of our local club is Kathy, and she is a go-getter. And she's a character. And they do a variety of things, but one of the things they do is they raise bees. So every so often I buy honey from her. It's expensive. It's like $10 for a little jar like that. But, you know, there's a lot going on with bees, I guess. Okay. I edited and deleted. Okay. Benjamin Otto, Dave, how does an atomic clock with a circuit trace for an antenna beyond microscopic compared to a quarter wave at 5 megahertz successfully sync to the WWV signal? The answer is it doesn't. It syncs to the 60 kilohertz WWVB signal. And it doesn't need much. The 60 kilohertz signal, which is definitely long wave, travels vast distances, and you don't need much of the signal. And there are ways in communication where if information is repeated, you can pick it up and start to tease out what it really means without getting a really big signal. And that's how that does that up there. You can even get watches that will sync to it. How often is it syncing to it? Is it syncing to it all the time? No. It only needs to make contact every 2 or 3 days just to double check itself. That's all. So that's how it works. Harry Rundle adds $5 and says, hello, Dave. Thanks for all you do. I've been testing my new Hustler 6 BTV vertical. It's working just fine, getting good performance. And DX, well, congratulations on your new antenna, Harry, and I'm glad it works for you. Joseph M., hi, Dave. Nice to catch a live stream. Best wishes from W5FJG/KH6. He's in Hawaii. Leo Gustafson, on the radio front, I pulled down that non-resident chameleon end-fed antenna that was possessed by some gremlin. Yeah, non-resonant end-feds can be weird, and you may have to have a wide-range tuner to make them work. I have some of their antennas here. I've got their backpack thing, and I put up some of them. Right at the moment on the peak of the roof is the Chameleon RXL. It's the receive loop. And they just put in an updated preamp for the thing. So I sent my assistant way up there to grab it, bring it down. We put the new preamp in it, went up, put it back up, and it works fine. It works just as well as the MFJ, and I think I've got one from W6LVP, who also sells them. Different design philosophies here and there, you know. But the thing about them is that they all work about the same. The thing that the Chameleon says is so good is you can be transmitting 100 watts right next to it, and you will not damage the preamp in it. That's their claim to fame for that one. So, okay, T. Klepper adds $20 and says, thanks for the info. Well, you are certainly welcome. That's what my, and that's what I'm trying to do here. I have this thing, I've had it all my life. I have to feel useful. I mean, like, you know, you can't just live, you've got to live for something. And it can't be just, you know, sailing a yacht in the South Pacific. There's got to be something that benefits other people. And that's why I do this. I've enjoyed ham radio. I first got interested in it as a kid, but didn't get my license till I was in college at Brigham Young University. They have an excellent ham club there. And so I started out by putting some novice training material online for some local people who couldn't attend a class locally. And then I started to get good feedback from all over the country. And so I went ahead and did the general and extra videos. And it was Anagi who suggested that I put together Ask Dave. I answer questions from people. I also do the occasional review. And we'll see. Looks like the uplink isn't very good. Angpar, sorry, late for class. Well, there was an issue with mix-up on the live streams. We had two running in parallel for a while. Sorry I was late. Hello, Dave. KC9FPZ, Doug, greetings from a beautiful evening in Illinois, which means it's probably also beautiful in Dayton. I wish you all good luck there. Benjamin Otto, when the FCC comes knocking at your door, which is chance of that's close to 0, or I should say 1 out of 800,000 hams, but because they will do it. Better have that exposure assessment ready to go. Now, what they will ask you to do if you do not have it in place, they do not normally confiscate equipment unless it is as a penalty for some severe infringement of the rules, like jamming people and so on. Jamming public safety frequencies will get you a visit. And the FCC does not have the power to impose criminal penalties. It's a regulatory agency, and what they do is regulate. And their power of authority is to levy fines. And the strange thing about it is they have to propose to you in advance what the fine will be. They can also take your license away from you or suspend it for a while. They propose the fine, and you can go back to them and say, I'm not even worth that much money. And they'll adjust it. They really will adjust it. It's a very odd system, the regulatory system. This is why, you know, when a drug company does something it's not supposed to, and they get $1 million fine, and everybody says, good grief, that's just a slap on the wrist. Well, that's because the statutory authority of the FDA, or whatever we're talking about here, is limited in the fines that it can do. So to some degree, they're toothless. And amateur radio is well known for being self-administering. You know, we kind of take care of each other. Occasionally, there's somebody out there who's wacko, and eventually, after what seems too long, the system catches 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 a lot of flack from people. Another thing that we have to notice is that in court, a federal agency is presumed to be the expert on the matter. And in order to overturn a regulatory agency's decision, you have to prove that the regulatory agency didn't know what it was doing, did something wrong. That is an extremely high burden of proof. Now, we're about to have that tested in the FDA case with that abortion drug that the FDA approved 20-some odd years ago. Basically, what the plaintiffs are saying is that the FAA did it improperly. And they've got a tough row to hoe because the regulatory agencies are presumed expert. So it's going to be a long, drawn-out thing where they try to prove that they did it wrong, didn't follow their own procedures, There was another case recently where a pilot, very popular YouTuber by the name of Trevor Jacob. No, that's a different one. Trevor Jacob crashed an airplane on purpose so he could get views on YouTube. He lost his license, and the FBI is coming after him for breaking federal law. And he could be looking at some prison time, actually, but not from the FAA, from the sheriff. And I hope he does, because what he did was truly irresponsible. Trevor Jacob, or is that now Kent? I can't keep my name. I follow a whole bunch of YouTubers. I love to fly, so there. Anyway. Okay, T. Klupper, $20. Thanks for the info. Let's see. Greetings from a beautiful evening. Yeah, but it is possible if you interfere with, if you successfully interfere with a public service, like you jam an ambulance frequency and it causes somebody to die, okay, it'll be more than the FAA knocking at your door. And you're committing manslaughter by doing that. And there is prison time that goes with that. Manslaughter is when you break a law. You break a law, clearly break a law, and somebody dies as a result. That's manslaughter. Murder is when you intentionally take somebody's life. And there are millions of degrees of this. And I'm not giving you legal advice. Just look at the Duke City Hamfest dates, and it looks like it's been canceled again. It was canceled last year. And I'm just going to look up here. Let's take a look. Screen. Whoops. Screen. Okay. DukeCityHamfest.org. Did you miss the convention too? Decided to cancel the 2023 event. The current minimal board is simply unable to do the work without the required assistant. Sadly, we heard from only a few individuals as simply untenable. Oh, that is too bad, because it was such a nice Hamfest. The last time I was there, I think was 2019, and I spoke a couple times, and it was, it's too bad. It was a very nice Hamfest, but you know, the longer you go without doing it, the more the people just kind of dissipate and go away. So, I'm very sorry to hear that. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, Angpar, watching class from Bell Mountain, High Desert, California. I used to go out to a place out in Lucerne Valley all the time. CPAC is going to be up Seaside, Oregon, way, but I learned about it too late. Just got my first issue of QST, which is where I learned about it. Oh, very good. Congratulations for joining the league. Welcome aboard. Endotooth, hello from KG4HVQ in north central Alabama. Phil, info about canceled Duke City Hamfest and unfortunately the system won't allow a link to go through. But I found it just by going to the link there. I will do that. It's a real problem getting volunteers. In fact, the league has named this the Year of the Volunteer because there aren't enough of them. People, now that the pandemic is gone, people are getting very busy again. And it used to be, back in ancient days, in the 50s, people had a pattern of life where something weird just happened to my computer. People had a pattern of life where they were done with work by 5 p.m. and then they'd go home to have dinner with their family. And so there were all sorts of fraternal organizations that people would get involved in. Ham clubs thrived. There was just a lot of volunteer work that was done. There was always an active women's club that would put on events and things like that. Now we live in a very different work environment where nobody's ever really off from work. We're always on. Was always on. I'm retired now, officially retired. Doesn't feel like it, but I'm officially retired. I don't work for IBM anymore. I have to say, on the one hand, IBM is not the company it used to be. And on the other hand, I have to thank them. I'm very grateful to them for putting up with my bipolar illness for so many years and being extremely supportive and bending over backwards to assist me with that. Of course, I hope I gave them good stuff for the money. CPAC, let's see. Info, Glenn, my 2-meter J-pole and 6 BTV have survived hail and winds above 80 miles an hour. Yeah, I had an antenna come down. It was a 73 antennas cobweb, and it was just kind of sitting on the antenna under test pole over there, and we had some very high winds, and it actually pulled the stake out of the ground. So the antenna, unlike the time a deer went through a cobweb antenna and destroyed it, this time it came down, it broke one of the arms. What I did was unscrewed the appropriate screws and folded it up like an umbrella and put some plastic wrap around it, and it's up safe in the garage for someday when I will rebuild that or give it to somebody or something. Okay, K2EXE has a hand saying hi. John Bauman, DJ Jackson, is there a fixed relationship between AWG, which is the gauge of the wire, and Q, or bandwidth at a given frequency for end-fed half-wave antennas? Is so, is there a table or graph published somewhere? If there is, you might look for it in the antenna book, but I have never seen one. In fact, I was looking just the other day for how much the thickness affects the bandwidth. The thicker, the better bandwidth. So by the time you get up to a Yagi and you've got 3-inch pieces of aluminum, your bandwidth will be not only all the band, but outside the band. I mean, a simple wire antenna will cover the entire 40-meter band at under 2-to-1 and under 1.6-to-1 in most cases. By the way, 1.6-to-1 on a real antenna is generally about as good as you're going to get because there's going to be some reactance floating around in there. Go ahead and punch the tuner button on your radio and let it tune it down to 1-to-1. Yeah. Dave, wondering what your thoughts are on the Yaesu FT710. I'm very interested. they've got two radios, the FTDX 10 and the FT710, that are at about the same price point. The FT710 has this enhanced speaker to it that makes for more volumetric sound on the radio. I always use headphones anyway, so it doesn't make much difference, but they're good radios. I mean, you're not going to go wrong. I saw somebody whether it would be a good radio to get instead of the IC7300. The IC7300 is a fabulous radio, but it's getting a little long in the tooth. Okay. Now, they just came out with the 710 and the FTDX 10 or whatever it is. And those are both fabulous radios. Now, it kind of comes down to, do you like ICOM or do you like Yaesu? I've always been a Yaesu person. I've had Yaesu most of my career till I went with the Yaesu, or with the Ten-Tec Jupiter, and used that for 10 years. And then I bought the Yaesu FTDX 3000. Thought I'd get myself a radio I could use through retirement. And it's sitting right there. And that has the best receiver of any radio I've ever owned. Now, the 7300 here, the ICOM 7300, is built for beginners who want to keep it for a while. It's sort of a beginner to mid-level radio. Now, before having this, I had borrowed an ICOM 7610 and was using that, and that was blowing me away. But the 7300, you know, with the antenna system I've got, I can essentially work anybody I can hear. Of course, if I have a little problem with that, I got 500 watts sitting right down there. And I've got a hex beam antenna that is somewhat directional. So would you go wrong buying a Yaesu FT710? I don't think so. They also sell the FT991B, B, as a beginner's radio, and it will do DC to light. It goes 160 meters all the way up to 2 meters. And so it's great for some of the more complex satellites and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, Yaesu has refreshed their product line dramatically. And they're new radios, and they will be maintaining them for a while. There will be more firmware updates coming out and so on. Whereas for the 7300, the last firmware update came out several years ago. So anyway, yeah, they're good radios. It's hard to buy a bad radio these days. But the one now, they're going to run you $1,300, something like that. Of course, ICOM has dropped the price on the other, but we'll see. Daniel Jones, KD9HFJ, just wanted to say thank you for all the knowledge. I don't have a functional station, but I did recently pass my extra. Equipment may be expensive, but learning is free. Well, good. Get something. Get a G90 or something just to put a signal on the air. Get a used one or something. Or find somebody at your local club who's willing to loan you a radio with the understanding if you really like it, you just might buy it from him. So, you know, and you can look for what things are selling on eBay for a reasonable price. Optical Man Jeff, KE0OG adds $15 to the chat revenue. Says, thanks, Dave, for your wisdom and your passion for ham radio. Best place to be on Thursday evening. Thank you. DJ Jackson says, that depends greatly on the frequency you're working at. Here is a pretty good article you can reference. You can probably calculate it in antenna modeling software. There is a feature in the modeling software that I use, which is EZNEC 6 Plus. They actually have a better version of that now available for free, but I've never updated. I bought this one years ago. There is a place in there where you specify the AWG of the wire, and the default is 12. I normally use 14 when I make an antenna, like when I extended the ARRL antenna for another 66 feet. I have a 500-foot spool of this. This is 14 gauge, so you get it in the picture there. Stranded wire is so much easier to deal with. And this wire I got from Home Depot. It was less than $100 for 500 feet. Okay, so, and this is just a single piece of wire, so you don't have to strip apart Romex, although you can, but you don't have to do that. And I like getting the stranded because it's just so much easier to work with. Okay, so, okay. Hello, I've been looking at the Alpha 6 to 80 meter HF military antenna 2.0 for portable vertical. Alpha, is that Alpha Delta or just Alpha? Alpha is an antenna maker, so is Diamond. They make similar antennas. Alpha Delta makes things like lightning arresters, but they also make antennas, and those antennas are tough as nails. But I almost used one of their antennas as the reference antenna, but it had issues covering all of 40. So I wanted something that covered all of 40. Okay, yeah, the links don't come through here. You can put it as the domain space at, or dot, just spell out dot, and then put COMM or something like that, and then slash, and then put whatever it is after that, and that should come through the system. Okay, type the URL without the quote marks into a browser. You can't click it usually. Yeah, YouTube protections, it doesn't even come through on the YouTube. Leo Gustafson, is it necessary to purchase more gear to measure the RF to satisfy the FCC? No. You can calculate it. Now, I did just come across something interesting. Where is it? Well, it's disappeared already. It's a little signal strength meter that purports to give you absolute measurements instead of relative measurements. I've had trouble getting it to actually read much anything. Of course, we're out here in a very RF quiet area. So, okay, let's see. Alpha 6 to 80 meter HF military antenna 2.0 for portable vertical. A lot of these portable antennas, and there are a number of them, including buddy pole, which is, they call it the buddy stick. They'll operate on one band at a time, and you have to go out there and move a jumper to get it to work on another band. After a while, you remember where to put the jumper. Okay, so is that good for your portable work? Is that what you want to do? If you'd like to do parks on the air, that might be a very good antenna because it'd be very easy to set up. I know the buddy stick only has one radial. Radials are a pain. It'd be nicer, but I don't know of one that's really portable, to get one of the electrical half waves, which don't need radials. You can also use a buddy pole to create sort of a dipole kind of thingy. That they do work. I mean, they are compromised antennas, but they do work. Okay, is it necessary to, okay, hi from Canada. Hi, Henry. Leo, exposure assessment, I mean, no, you don't. You go to the, let's see if I can find it for you here. We'll go to the screen and we'll go to ARRL.org and we're going to look for RF exposure, RF hyphen exposure. Okay, did that click or not? Oh, I clicked it on the wrong thing. Slash RF exposure right there. Okay, and when you go there, you'll read all the stuff under here, the changes and so on and so forth. There is an RF exposure calculator here, 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 I have trouble. Oh, we're having trouble getting stuff down from the site. Okay, now take a look at this. Parameters. Power at the antenna. So if you've got heavy losses in your coax, which would not normally be the case on HF, you put the number of watts, you put the duty cycle of the mode that you're using. The transmit duty cycle, you transmit for 5 minutes and receive for 10 minutes and repeat. The antenna gain in dBi, which you can get from modeling software or from the manufacturer's manual. And then your operating frequency. And you want it to include the effects of ground reflections. That's critical. This you can skip. And then it will put it down here. So let's say that we have 100 watts at the antenna and we're doing conversational single sideband. Now I always do it with speech processing, but not that much. Now let's just do this. Okay, 510 antenna gain, a dipole, a real dipole with ground effects, maybe 4 dB gain, operating frequency 14.175. Okay, and then calculate. And what it does down here is tells you the maximum allowed power density is 4.47 milliwatts per square centimeter. This is a tiny little space. Minimum safe distance in feet, 1.4 feet. That's how far you've got to be away if it's a controlled environment. Now, the old uncontrolled environment is now called the general public. Okay, this is their maximum allowed density. They need to be 2 feet away. Okay, now let's go up here and make this 1,000 watts. Okay, well, 1,500. Let's just do 1,500. 1,500. And we're going to do some heavy-duty stuff, a RIDI bulletin. We're going to send out a RIDI bulletin. So we're going to transmit for 15 minutes, then receive on 10. And 10 again, we're going to take a Yagi, okay, and on the same frequency, well, let's do 090, which is a RIDI frequency. Now we'll calculate. Now things will change a little bit. Okay, maximum allowed power density is 4. The minimum safe distance is 26.9 feet, 27 feet. For an uncontrolled environment, 50 feet. Okay, so if your antenna is more than 50 feet away from your neighbor, then yes, you're going to be okay. But this is what you'll use. Now see here, it says print results. This is what you're going to print and keep in your log. And of course, this right now, this is not realistic for me. For example, I might do 500 watts and I'm going to do heavy speech processing, and I'm going to transmit for like 4 minutes and receive for 10 because I'm going after a DX station. The gain is maybe 6 dB. and the operating frequency, we'll just make it 200 right here, okay? And now we're going to calculate, and now let's take a look. We have to keep people at least 10 feet away from the antenna. Well, it's further than that to the property line, okay? So this is how you would do it, and you're going to need to do that. Now, I have just 5 minutes left. I want to point out that I do have something entertaining in my future that may affect the channel a bit for like several days. I went to the eye doctor today because my right eye has gotten quite whacked out. In February, we discovered that there was an infection on the eye that was actually etching into the outside of the eye, the cornea. And so anyway, that has healed. However, the cataract that I have in that eye is thoroughly messing to the point where I'm legally blind in my right eye. I mean, everything is just a blur. However, my left eye's okay. So what the right eye does is help me with the 3D part, you know, so I'm not seeing everything in a flat field. Anyway, in the middle of June, I am going to have cataract surgery and have that fixed. And fortunately, being on Medicare, they should take care of that. Normally, I do not, you know, I have resisted LASIK surgery all my life because I don't want anybody messing with my eyes. It's my most favorite sense, I guess. I don't want to lose my eyesight, so I'm going to have this surgery. There's always something when you're in your 70s. It's just one thing. Okay, let's see where we are. Exposure assessment. Yeah, alpha. Okay, antenna. Buddy sticks work well in a mag mount on the roof of a car. Stationary, not moving. N0 VTY. I did an assessment for every band and antenna I use. Came up with a small stack of paper, but I am covered. Very good. Leo Gustafsson, the screen door screen seems to work for radials. Yeah, it is quick and easy, but be aware, one, that it is actually aluminum, because like the screens in my house are made of plastic mesh. In fact, I've got a roll of the stuff, so if I get a tear in one, I can replace it real easy. There's a tool you can get to put that, you know, it's held in by a piece of plastic rubber string or something. Anyway, the one thing you have to worry about in the screen door is the long-term use of it. It can corrode fairly easily if it's on the ground. Okay. Okay, so Leo, thanks. DJ Jackson, while I understand the protection, YouTube is annoying. Yes, it is. Now, I can put URLs in, but they don't let others do that. Glenn Martin, thank you for all N0QFT. DJ Jackson, hopefully you understand that mashup. Okay, I don't know what came through. Okay. There we are. Thank you for $53 raised for chat revenue. I'm only going to get about $800 from YouTube, and that counts all the advertising revenue that I get this month. It's because of the hacking. Okay, it's hitting my bottom line like by, that's nearly $1,000 less than I usually get. So every little bit helps. Now, I do, of course, get paid for the Ask Dave column, and I get paid, they lease my training videos. On the condition I keep them updated, which is what I'm working on the general right now. Okay, so we are out of time, and I want to say thank you to all of you for being Augies, for being part of this channel. And I hope that those of you who are at Dayton enjoy it and spread the word about what's going on to see what kind of announcements. This is where the big three make their big announcements. So another thing I'm interested in is if MFJ has come out with a better tuner for their mag loop antenna that will read the frequency from the radio and tune it. I hope they do that. I've got a lot of things I wish I could look at there. And if anybody sees Jan, I think it is, from QRP Labs, please say hi for me. That's usually the very first place I go because it's on the way in. So he's always in the same spot. I wish I could be there, but I'm not. So, all right. So good night to all of you. 73, best wishes, and thank you again. Check out C47 CFR 1.1307B5 for RN safety. I'll have to do that. Okay. So thank you all very much for your time. And until we next meet, 73.